What's going on, everybody? And what's going on, folks? My name is David, and I'm your legendary host of this legendary podcast. Once again, my name is David. The D stands for Deconstructed, and today we got an interesting one. Got a guest here next to me, Niecy. Welcome to my show, the D-constructingTopics podcast. And let me tell you something. My motto has always been that thing, saving a mind, saving a life. You look like you're about to save a mind and a life. Talk to me. What's going on? What's the name of your podcast?
The name of my podcast is Niecy's Real Talk Unfiltered.
Okay.
So kind of taking a different approach on some topics, world events and whatnot.
Oh, yeah. I just, it's interesting. I just finished doing something about ICE. So I want people to kind of like understand, hey, listen, I like to touch all those buttons because, listen, I'm independent as independent. And sadly, people be like, well, how do you know, what's going on? How do you know what to trust?
Right.
So it's one of those things that, and what made you want to like start doing the podcast thing? I mean, no, because I'm like, I just tell people, you know what? I think I was born to do a podcast.
Quite possibly, yeah. I'm very opinionated, but
right.
on the same token, slightly conservative, but I'm breaking out of my shell. So in doing so, just really, I think that the way of the world currently is making people sort of break out of their shell and, be a little bit more vocal, get out there and, not only pursue things, but let your opinion be known.
Right. Absolutely, because one of those things that I tell people, you got to think independent. And if one thing in this earth that we live in the beautiful world, there's many countries that have coins. And if you look at a coin, what is it? Two flips, two sides.
There you go.
It's never the same. So that's why I also personally started this little podcast going on. So I could be like, you know what? I got you. Unplug yourself. Whatever it is, tune into this. Look, and I got some people listening to my podcast, and they be like on the car, and I'm like, yo, hey, listen, I love it. But you know what? You want to listen to every letter or every word that I said. So, talk to me about your background. Let me know what's going on, how you got from point A to point B.
Well, I'm one of those tricky T words, and that's transplant.
Right.
So,
What does
kind of
that mean?
Transplant, I don't know. Sometimes I guess it's looked upon as like a slightly negative thing because, people come here and don't know,
Right.
how to conduct themselves necessarily. But,
Right.
I came here from the DMV area, military brat, completely humbled by my experience here, I will say that.
Right.
But, made my way to New York. I work in psychology and as a community outreach coordinator and completely love what I do.
Right.
I love working with children. But nonetheless, made my way here and just trying to break into this podcasting thing a little bit.
Oh, that's
cool. And really show a side of myself that I haven't shown before. So in the sense that, unfiltered. Niecy has never really been unfiltered, maybe around friends, but,
Right. Now, you know what's crazy? I tell people this. I was not born in this country. I came here illegally via Puerto Rico, but no, that's an inside joke. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm supposed to be a citizen, right? But the interesting is this. For some reason, I gravitated to geography. And when I was in school in the third grade or whatever when I came here, I actually knew about more capitals and places than the kids that were born here. And I have reason to say that. Can you please let us know what's the DMV and what are those states? Because some people will be like, she was born in motor vehicles. What?
Yeah, exactly. And I do get that here. They're like Department of Motor Vehicles. DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And for the real ones, there's certain points of Virginia, certain points of Maryland, and if you go beyond that, you are not a DMVer. I am tried and true, born at Walter Reed Army Medical Hospital.
Oh my goodness, let's go.
So I am a DC native, if you will. But yeah, DMV, that is what it is.
Right. No, I got you because I'm Puerto Rican, born in Puerto Rico, so I came here with that little accent. And now I'm 30 years doing labor, and I deal with members from D.C., and people in D.C. are a little different because when they are asking questions, and now I deal with contract and job-related issues, but when they be like, can you help me with my insurance? And I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? I'm coming here to fight file a insurance. I mean, you mean a grievance? And insurance, insurance, but they say assurance.
Mm-hmm.
Am I saying it? Am I somewhere there?
You're a little bit of there.
Yeah, you see,
Everything.
Right. Listen,
Merlin.
I think I spoken to many of my DC members. I got love for my DC members out there, the VA. But y'all is beautiful people. I'm just trying to understand insurance, assurance. I still don't get it, but that's fine. But you know what? Before the show started, we was having a conversation about school. I went to the public school system here because I always felt that the school, especially the public school system, here in New York City, we have what we call it, for those folks out there, I think it might change, where you, in order to get a high school diploma, not only you have to have a GPA of 65, but you have to pass the Regents, and you have to pass what they call the RCT. I'll be honest, I kind of forgot what the RCT stand for, but I'm just saying something. The T stands for the test, that's for sure. But it was one of those tests. Now, the Regents being the one that was a little bit of the harder, and then if you wanted to go to college, the SAT.
Okay.
Sadly, many of the people in the hood, especially so-called minorities, whatever it is, we're talking about the Black, Hispanic community and so on, we were a little behind because there were some words that you'd be like, what does that mean? And we was talking about that. You was dealing with that. Talk to me. And by the way, what's your background?
Community outreach coordinator for
Okay.
a psychology practice.
Ooh,
and
that sounds good.
one of the things that rings true and highly that I work hard for is to provide accessibility for those who may be disenfranchised and don't have access to adequate testing.
Right.
You hear a lot about ADHD,
Yes.
ADD, spectrum disorders, things of that nature. Now, while I am not a clinician, reaching out in the community and dealing with the schools directly, helping to provide support to parents,
Right.
to administrators that are seeking to find resources for the kids, and that's particularly meaningful to me. Not only for every child, but communities that are disenfranchised, I want to see that access and that proper diagnosis before a stigma applies to that child and is carried with that child.
Absolutely. I like that word disenfranchised because it is true. It does ring sometimes because I'm very emotional. I still stay to certain words, certain way of thinking. And I would say it's this, and I'm like a 80s, 90s baby.
Okay.
See that ADD, all that good stuff that you just mentioned? Sadly, even in the 90s, it was a new thing. And what happened when a child had ADD that did not stay still? They get that pop out.
I say that all the time, and jokingly, and it's
sadly,
but
I'm just saying.
Exactly, that's trauma. But I will say that, I think that parents were of the mindset that they're going to beat the ADHD out of you.
Right.
So.
Right. And I'm one to always say, and I observe because I grew up in the hood, I grew up in projects and so on. That sadly, you can have the smartest kid, but everything starts at home. And let's say you're in the housing projects. From you to go here, get that trauma, to go to school, and the teacher. And I think that we had that discussion where some teachers kind of want to help you, but it's more like, especially, how can I say, white teachers, people that did not grow up in the hood. They'll look at you like they want to help you, but it's more like petty. Not petty. What am I saying? They pity.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, because your upbringing and because you don't have the resources. And sometimes that makes us like,
Like your pet project.
Right. So let me know what you think about that situation. Have you observed things like that? Because sadly, everything starts at home. Mm-hmm. No matter how small, like I said, no matter how small you are, if there's something going on at home, and in between is the streets, the hood.
I think during that, and I think we're around the same age, that when we were coming up, that you were more of a pet project. I think that teachers, by and large, now try to be a little bit more relatable. I'm not saying that they all are, and I certainly can't account for that because I'm not within the school system. Right. But I think that there are small steps that that have been made, towards that end, and. You still have the teachers that'll, stick a label on you.
Right.
But it's a double-edged sword.
Right.
The education system is so jacked right now.
Right,
It's just
right.
ridiculous.
You know,
The DOE is looking ugly right now too.
right, right. And then I guess it goes back to sometimes in this country, and sadly, there's a lot of people that come from other countries who you might think, oh, but you here in this country, but their education is more. They know about capitals from globally, and if you look at the books, and you could tell that hey, listen. I always tell people, I love America, but America is like number one in propaganda, starting from school. I take it back. I'm not gonna say school. I'm gonna say public school because they have more control. And it's one of those things that do I feel like they do dumb the kids in terms of the education by on purpose? Absolutely. So I don't know if you have observed or you feel that way, that there's a purposed lack of just to stay people not that make people think outside the box or something to that effect.
Yeah, there's a certain level of indoctrination
Right.
that occurs. I also believe that there's a sick level of social promotion
Okay.
that occurs as well. Again, in the capacity in which I work, we try to afford resources, and I've come across children where it's just been clear that how are you in the grade that you're in?
Right. Right.
Why are you writing in a manner that you're writing in?
Yes.
Why can't you form
Right.
complete, coherent sentences? What's really going on?
Right.
You know what I mean? And why are you really in the grade? How'd you get to
Right,
that?
right.
Who didn't hold you back?
Yeah. I mean,
In a good way.
Right, and I could relate to that because I've always said that me coming from Puerto Rico, I had a little advantage because I got to see things from the outside in, and if you are in, you won't see things from the inside out. You're just always gonna see things in this little box, and that's all you got. I always remember in the time of when I was in school, I was hanging out and I go, have you gone to Times Square? I mean, hey, look, I don't.
Have.
I don't recommend Times Square to nobody.
It's overwhelming.
Yes, it's just
Too many
much.
people.
Whatever.
And
Yeah, it's
overstimulating.
Right, and it just I don't know. There's other local places, but I always remember I'm over here hanging out at Times Square. I'm like 16. I go back in the hood, in the projects, and it was me and my cousin. We go back and we see these young kids in the corner, and we tell them, hey, listen, we just went to Manhattan, and they look at us like if we went to another country. But the real facts is that the thing is that, kids, if you go outside of this gate, there's a racism and all that. Now, again, there is. But how can you educate people and still give them a path to still be able to succeed, to do things outside of just staying in the corner, doing their thing? You got my boy Tyrone, Jose, you know what I mean? Doing their thing. So I'm with you on that situation. So I take it that you like or you into how the mind develops and how the mind works?
I am.
Okay.
So undergrad was sociology, criminology, and I don't work for the man.
Right.
However,
Yeah,
I am curious about how the mind works, and why people do the things that they do,
Right.
and how the environment can form or shape the way that
Right.
that you go about your life. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. I do find that interesting.
When it hits you, like you want to do this, like, okay, you know what, I like this. Then you watch the show. I was watching that show on Netflix, His and Hers. For those people who have not watched that show, it's a crazy show. Now, I bring it up because I don't want to spoil it, but it does have to do with the mind and how different people perceive what's his and what's hers, So is there something that triggered you that you say, like, hey, I want to do this? Do you remember anything?
I mean, over the years, it's been different iterations of working in a capacity with people. Largely, It's been healthcare in the traditional sense, and then once I moved here, it kind of shifted towards psychology. And again, I'm not a clinician, but I've always been a people-oriented person, and I've always wondered why people think the way they do, why someone may behave in a certain manner. Like what was the catalyst? Was it, the environment that they grew up in? Was it, a traumatic experience? What was it that shaped and molded you to become the person that you are?
And that's crazy because early on, one of my episodes that I did on D-constructingTopics podcast, let's get it, was the halo effect. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the halo effect.
Do explain.
All right. So the halo effect, do you know what's a halo?
I do.
So what happens in this, and this is interesting, and this has been proven, because I'm going to tell you what happens, is that if someone, let's say good looking, if you tell them, if you look at the 1940s and 50s commercials, you had these good looking people smoking cigarettes. Now, cigarettes not good, but because they're good looking people, you put a halo around their head, as in everything they do is good. If it was somebody, I would like to say it's not, let's just say to each his own, right? But sadly, in Hollywood, someone who's not attractive, you put them to smoke cigarettes, I wouldn't smoke cigarettes. And that's what they call the devil's horn effect. So when you look at somebody that has that good look or whatever, you put a halo. Everything they do is good.
Right.
That's why there's a thing. It's an effect. There was a study. So you're familiar with politics?
I am.
Okay. John F. Kennedy.
Yes.
Debates Richard Nixon. My understanding, so it was the first presidential debate on TV. But prior to that, they did it on the radio. If you listen to the conversation, now nobody, because television was still norm, people didn't know how John F. Kennedy looked. John F. Kennedy looked handsome, or more handsome than Richard Nixon. If you hear the debate, you will have said, Richard Nixon might have won. When it goes to TV, because now John F. Kennedy, right, it switches. So it's something where, sadly, the powers that be, they tap into how the mind works to, at the end, I always tell people, look, listen, I love this country. I have issues with capitalism, but guess what? They turn us into consumer. And how they start us?
Mind.
Right.
Yeah.
So have you noticed anything like that? Let me ask you a question. If I tell you who's your favorite actress or actors, I'm pretty sure they're good looking, right? Wouldn't you be like, oh, wait a minute, maybe it's because of their look? You know what I'm saying? Like, Denzel Washington's a good looking guy.
Yes.
Great actor. So it's one of those things that I say, hey, listen, perhaps it's that. But I'm just saying, sometimes, and maybe you don't need to give me an answer now. But think about it.
It makes sense, though, because Idris Elba can do no
halo.
wrong.
Right. So it's the halo effect. So we making it happen. That's something that I want people to understand, how the mind works. We will be talking about this. Niecy, it's a pleasure. Let's make it happen. So you already know we got the D-constructingTopics podcast. Hey, if you see somebody, no matter what, don't give them the halo look. Just judge the person by how they are and not how they look. Let's make it happen. And I'm out of here. Peace. All right, and Niecy, let my peoples, let everybody know where they can see your podcast.
Tigits TV.
All right, you already know. And me too. Let's make it happen.